Good morning. Whew, I had computer issues this morning. That was a pain. But it got figured out, right? My computer was going, "No, I'm not ready." And I said, "Yes, we're ready." It's like, "No, not yes." It had a snooze button, and I was it. Anyway, but here we are. Hope you're having a great morning. Hope you're having a great week and a great life, etc., 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 right? Anyway, thanks for watching this one. I just wanted to tell everyone thank you for watching. I've got about three that watch every day or almost every day, and I just appreciate those who do watch, and I have a quite a few that are in and out, right? But I just appreciate you taking the time. Maybe you're listening as you're driving, even and not technically watching, and that's okay too. But just thank you for following along on this journey for peace, looking for peace, and trying to let peace reign in our heart. Right? That's why I have my peace out shirt on today. By the way, I got peace out. Yeah, I do. So I wore it today. I wore it Saturday or Sunday too, I think. Anyway, so it's all about just finding peace in Him, right? It's about learning that He gave us His peace and seeking that. But isn't life about seeking Him, no matter what? Whether things are going good, whether things are going bad. A lot of times we don't really try to seek Him, don't put a lot of energy into seeking Him until we need Him. But it's about seeking Him all the time because we actually need Him all the time, whether we feel we're in crisis or not. We need Him, right? And so sometimes all the time it's about just seeking Him. So I'll talk about that a little bit today because I entitled this all because I landed in Proverbs 3, a familiar passage, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It says this this is a New King James Version. Trust in the Lord, because it's large print. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. And I titled this all because all is used in here twice. So if it's used in these two little verses, once in each verse, is probably pretty important, right? It says to trust in the Lord with all your heart. And I think that's a place we have to kind of grow to, right? Because we can trust, sometimes we trust the Lord for this and this, but not that and those, right? We want to pick and choose what parts of our heart. I can handle this, God, so I need you to handle this, but I got this. And I think if we can put our whole heart in it and just trust Him for everything, whether it's finances, health, relationships, job, whatever you need to fill in the blank there with, trust in the Lord with all of our heart, not reserving any part of it for ourselves. Then He says to don't lean on your own understanding, which is good because we don't understand a lot of things, right? But then here's the other all. In all your ways acknowledge Him. And again, this is where we like to section it out and segregate little parts, right? In all your ways acknowledge Him. Can I acknowledge Him in every action I have every day? And then I'm making this a reflective, these are rhetorical questions for reflective thought. How's that? Can I acknowledge Him no matter what I'm doing every day? Is there anything I do during the course of my day where I want to go, okay, don't look over here, God, because don't look, okay, because He sees anyway, right? Or you feel like you're kind of doing something in secret, but He sees anyway. But are there any of our ways? Our ways are the things we do, what we say, our character, things like that. Are there anything in our ways that we would anything that we do that we couldn't acknowledge Him there in that place? Do you go somewhere where you want Him to wait outside for you? You know He don't, but you can think that way, right? Okay, God, you wait out here. I'll be back in a minute. No, He's already everywhere. He's actually in this place you shouldn't go, if there is such a place, right? He's actually here in your home, even if you're watching something on TV that you probably shouldn't watch. If you say those words, I probably shouldn't watch this, but you're right, you shouldn't watch it. I probably shouldn't say this, then don't. Right? Have you ever you thought that I probably shouldn't think this, but then don't. Right? Because we want to be able to acknowledge Him in all of our ways. Because when we can trust Him with all, and that's one of them big old words, right? And we can trust him with our whole heart, every single little part, even the parts we don't know all that well. And we can acknowledge him in all of our ways, which remember we talk about ways because in Psalm, let's see, I think it's 103 or 107. I'd have to go back and look. Uh, it says that the children of Israel knew God's deeds, but Moses knew his ways. It's in 103. I was right. 103:7. So there's both of those numbers, threes and sevens and ones. He made known his ways who to Moses. His ways. That's who he really was. That's his character. But his acts to the children of Israel. So he showed the children of Israel what he could do, but he showed Moses who he was. Right? So when we're going to acknowledge him in our ways are who we are, not just what we do. It's how we think, how we react, how we plan things, how we go through our day. It's more of our character. He revealed his character to Moses and his deeds to the children of Israel. Why did he do that? Because they couldn't handle it. Maybe they didn't want to know. Maybe they just wanted to know. Okay, make the bitter water sweet. Okay, part the Red Sea. Okay, do this. Feed us manna. I want. Meet my little needs. But Moses wanted to know him. And God revealed himself to Moses. The children of Israel didn't really want to know him. They just wanted the benefit of calling him God, right? This is the benefit. We get manna, we get quail when we climb enough, we get fresh water out of the rock, or bitter water turns sweet. We get stuff. And they just wanted the benefit of calling him God, but Moses wanted to know him. I know there's a scripture, and I don't know where this one is, except in Exodus, where it says he said, let's go up and meet with God, cleanse yourselves and take your baths and do all your cleansing rituals, and let's go to the mountain and meet with God. And they were like, oh, no, 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 we don't want to meet with God. You go tell us what he said. You go meet with, because they were afraid they would die. Why? Because their hearts weren't pure. They could wash their bodies and do all their cleansing rituals all they wanted, but their hearts were not clean. And that prevented them from wanting that, even just having that desire of meeting God. But see, when we acknowledge him in all of our ways, then we get to know his ways, right? When we are clean from the inside out. And that starts, of course, with salvation, accepting Christ, because then he makes us righteous by his blood. We don't have to worry about our own righteousness. Now, do we want to practice righteous deeds? Absolutely, right? So, and we want to be able to acknowledge him in all of our ways, in our character, in the way we respond. I had an incident, was it Saturday or Sunday? Saturday, I think, with a client that was horrible. I was like, it made me want to go hug all my good clients and take the rest of the year off, because it was a horrible encounter. And so, but I really guarded my reaction so I could get out of the Zoom meeting and go think. And then I deleted her account and blocked her, because it was a very abusive thing. And so, but how did I react? I could have very easily said, look now, I wanted to just rise up, but I just let her go on and on and on with her little rant. And I said, I'll just give you the credit, the hours back. I don't even care. And anyway, it was a big mess. But how do we react in those crises situations, or in those pressing situations? I shouldn't say it wasn't really a crisis. It was an emotional crisis, right? How do we react? Do we react in a way that God would approve? I believe I did. I was very nice to her, and then after I went and thought about it, I thought I do not have to ever talk to her again. But I got out of the situation before I made the assessment. So I handled it. I felt like I handled it good. I handled it well, right? And so, but how do we handle those day-to-day things? Do we acknowledge him in our character? And that means we've been studying First John. Join us Thursday night, by the way. We're on to chapter 4. It's been really good. And in First John 2:6, it says that he who says he abides in him, in Christ, ought himself also to walk like he walked. So it should be, as the more we get to know him, the more our ways should look like his. The more we acknowledge him in our ways, the more people see him in us. It was always such a great honor when someone would say, "Man, you're just like Paul. You're just like your dad." And yeah, as a matter of fact, that's a good thing. I like that. But the more I knew my dad, the more I respected him, the more I walked like him, the more I talked like him, the more I acted like him, the more I acted like he expected me to act. I wanted to respect his name when I was out, so I didn't do some things because I didn't want to bring disrespect on my dad. And it's the same way with God in all of our ways, our character, our deeds, our words, we should acknowledge him. And then it says he will direct our paths. And the coolest part of that, one of the coolest parts of that is when he's directing our paths, we can walk in peace. We'll be able to walk in that peace because we're letting him direct instead of us going, okay, you stand over there. If we are gonna if we do one of those things where we say, I probably shouldn't, we've already lost our peace when we cross that line. I probably shouldn't do this. And when we pursue doing this when we know we shouldn't, we just compromised our own peace. Right? So we want to protect that peace. And how do we do that? Trust God with all our heart, including asking Him for peace. Don't lean on our own understanding because sometimes things just aren't going to make sense. It didn't make sense to strike a rock and have water come out. It didn't make sense to put your rod over the water and it part in the Red Sea. All right? Maybe it didn't make sense to Daniel, but it made sense to Daniel to just keep praying. He didn't lean on his own understanding and God delivered him, right? So trusting him with all of our heart, not leaning on what we understand because we are so limited in our finite minds, right? And acknowledge him in everything we do, everything we say, every place we go, the way we interact with others, etc., 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 then we won't compromise that peace that he gave us because he gave us that peace. We just have to let it reign. We just have to pursue him and let that peace reign in our heart, right? So I say one more time, trust in the Lord with all your heart in all your ways. Acknowledge him. Not only will he direct your paths, but you'll protect that peace he put in your heart and you can let it rain. You can enjoy the benefits of it forever if you want to. Peace out, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.